Paul, the major championships, you've had a love affair with the British Open, or Open Championship as they call it nowadays, over the years. I think 16 appearances, those little...
Did I? Right, okay. I
Didn't know that?
No.
No, I remember one year actually, there was a qualifier in Sunningdale where you unusually had to qualify and you were just, you know, you were so determined to get through. But what is it with the Open Championship in Paul?
I think it's probably the one that I felt I could do best in. And I love the fact that it's what we talked about earlier. It's about course management. It's about controlling your ball flight. And it's about the old-fashioned way of playing the game that we don't really play a lot nowadays. And it's always been a great tournament. The R&A make a great job. They run it brilliantly well every year. Huge crowds, great golf courses, and links courses that we were all brought up on.
It was funny because '96 was your big chance to really try get the Claret Jug as such, which as Lytham would be a course that would really suit your game as much, probably more so than some of the others.
Yeah, again, it probably came, I hadn't even won on tour at that stage, and there I was, joint leader of the Open after 2 rounds, and it probably came a bit early for me in my career. I wish I had that opportunity when I was more experienced. But yeah, I mean, I never really got in the zone the way I did in some of my wins playing in the Open Championship, which was disappointing. I would love to have really got a flourish of playing, being on my game, being confident like I have been in various times throughout my career during the Open Championship, because that's the one I enjoyed the most, actually. The US Open I always found extremely difficult. I found it was relentless. The fairways, were so narrow, and the rough was so severe, and I didn't have the strength to power out of the rough or up around the greens. I had to just chip it out every time. USPGA, I always did well in USPGAs because they were a little bit tougher than a PGA Tour event, but not as tough as the US Open. It was kind of in between, and I really enjoyed that. I had a good run a few times in the USPGA Championship. And then the Masters, I really enjoyed, but then they made the golf course so difficult and so long. That
you just missed out on your first appearance?
My first appearance, I came 17th, which was pretty good. Yeah, I shot level par, which was the year of the first big changes in terms of the length.
Because I wouldn't say they ruined the course, but they changed, they changed that course totally. I mean, I went to college there and played it once. And it was all about, kind of 6, 7, 8 irons into small little postage stamp spots.
Yeah, exactly.
And then for the normal player, it's a totally different course now.
Well, that's what it was. To me, I look at the 4 majors, and I've always seen them as 4 different exam papers. You've got the Open Championship, which is very much wind, links, firm, fast fairways. Weather can be all over the place. The draw is very important. That's that kind of test. Your shot making is very important. Then you got US Open, where you've got to drive it well. You've got to have a great short game and get up and down out of the junk around the greens this high. And level par, if you shoot level par, that's going to be the score at the end of the week. Then you got the USPGA Championship, which has always been a little bit more difficult than a PGA Tour event, but you knew what that exam paper was, so you had to still obviously play well. And then you had the Masters, which was basically fireworks, and that's what made it so great. They always used to say, starts the last 9 holes on Sunday. And it was fireworks because, guys were having car crashes all around the golf courses in terms of bogeys and double bogeys and triple bogeys, and yet other guys were making eagles and hole-in-ones. And that's what made it so riveting to watch on TV. And there was a period there during the 2000s when they lost that, and they turned the Masters into the exam paper of the US Open, where a guy leading going into the last 9 on Sunday, all he had to do was shoot level par and he was going to win, because nobody could come back and shoot 28 the way Nicklaus did in his day. So they lost it, but I'm glad to say now the last few years they've brought that back, and last year was a brilliant Masters again, because they brought it back. They softened up the golf course, they shortened a few of the tee boxes, and they made the greens a little bit more receptive. So as a result, guys were having eagles, and guys were also having bogeys and doubles, and it made it for great excitement again. So I'm glad to say it's come back to where it was.
Of the 4 majors, which one would you say you would like to win, hopefully, the most, or to have won?
Oh, the Open is always the one for us. There's no doubt. I mean, the Open is something special, and you look at Tom Watson at the age he is, he's still competing in it, and I'd love to have a few more goals at winning the Open Championship. Yeah.
The fact that there's such a strong presence of Irish major winners at the moment, is that something that's inspiring you?
There's no doubt it makes it easier. There is no doubt about that. And I think the guys coming through now, there's no doubt that Padraig's wins in the majors not just in an Irish sense, but in a European sense, was very important. You know, the barrier was broken down, the difficulty, the aura around winning a major championship was broken down by Pádraig. And there's no doubt a lot of success Europe has had that is because of his success. And he of the new era of players, you know, outside of the Sevies and the Langers and the Wuzzies, he was kind of the leader in that way in terms of winning major championships. So the aura that people place now on winning major championships is not the wow factor that we would have had when we were growing up as kids, which was basically the impossible. It was like flying to the moon way back in the days. You know, very few people did it, and the idea of an Irishman winning it would be very, very unusual. And now it's actually, you know, every time we come to a major championship, we're looking at the Irish and thinking, yeah, you know, there's no reason why 4 or 5 of the Irish can't win. So there's definitely a lot of the mystique about winning major championships has been broken down.
Yeah, it was funny because remember there was always with Jacqueline with the US Open, the last European type of thing, you know, and then Graham goes and wins it, and it was just bizarre the way it worked with, you know, Rory, Graham wins, Rory wins, and then, you know.
Well, it's not bizarre. There's no doubt. There's a mental effect going on there. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
And Darren winning then on the back of Graham winning as well too, and there's no question or doubt about it. No doubt about it. That's what, you know, the barriers are broken down, it makes things easier. And I think our success in the Ryder Cup teams over the years as well too, the fact that we've gone to America and won by a record margin as we did in 2005 or 2004, and then 2006 doing the same thing again in the K Club. Again, that's breaking down barriers, just breaking down the mystique about American players, about them being absolute gods in the game. And as a result, you're having that huge success that we're having now and dominating the world rankings.
Paul, we touched a little bit about your off-the-course activities. You're, in my eyes, the new Greg Norman.
I wish.
Is that something that's always been close to your heart to get involved? Obviously, the Clubs for Hire is a, you know, phenomenal idea. Where did the brainchild from that come from?
Well, it didn't come from me, to be honest. It's kind of maybe evolved a little bit from me, but a fella called Jerry McKernan from Belfast and Tony Judge, who I went to college with in Dublin. And I kind of evolved it with them, which is, we're very fortunate. You've played on tour, you know. We've a guy called McPhee who drives around from tournament to tournament. And what we do is we pay €50 a week. And McPhee, when you finish on a Sunday night, McPhee has a high ace van. He backs it up to the locker room door. He takes your golf clubs. He drives through the night. And he gets to the next tournament, delivers your clubs. So you can fly home, have a night or two at home, fly back out to the next tournament. Your clubs are in the locker room for the next tournament. So it's kind of evolved from that. And we've tried to extend it in so that amateurs can enjoy it as well too. And then with my relationship with TaylorMade, because when I went to college in America, TaylorMade was just starting out as well too. And the coach was one of the founder guys in TaylorMade. So my relationship with TaylorMade has been so strong for years and years. And the sales guy that our coach employed when we were there is a fellow called Mark King, who was basically the sales guy for the San Diego area. Wow. And he is now risen to be the president worldwide of TaylorMade, and of course the company is just flying. So with my relationship with TaylorMade, we obviously wanted to get them involved, and the angle that was my role within the company was to get the manufacturers on board. And the way I did that was, you know, I wanted to be a shop window for them, that, you know, people who can't afford TaylorMade clubs or people who haven't tried TaylorMade clubs can go away on holiday for a week, and based on the expensive prices that airlines charge for taking clubs, that they could rent a set of clubs cheaply and have top of the range at the same time. So it will be a shop window for the manufacturers for people to try their clubs. So that worked well, and then we got our Nikes, we got Callaways, we got everybody else involved, and it's kind of evolved from that. And now we're going to have, by April, we're going to have 12 shops open around Europe, which is all in airports, obviously. So it's growing and growing, and it's a great service for the public. We
discussed earlier with the changes in the golf courses nowadays. They're kind of the boomers, and, you know, they don't really reward a lot of, you know, accuracy and stuff and shot making. Is that why you got involved in the golf design business, to try maybe bring that back to people?
Yeah, a little bit actually, to be honest. Yeah, golf design, you know, I'm fortunate. I've got 4 things going on in the business sense. I've got the Clubs to Hire, a company called Aligo, which is basically an elite golf club membership. I've got an academy down with TaylorMade down in Quinta Lago in Portugal, and then I got my golf design. And the golf design really excites me, and I've got 6 courses under construction at the moment, all renovations, not starting from scratch. I much more enjoy renovations than I do starting from scratch. And
why is that? Is that
It kind of keeps me within a footprint. It keeps me more focused, and I'm trying to stay within the footprint that's originally been designed. And I'm trying to bring the golf courses to life, a little bit like having a nice painting and putting a nice frame around it. I like to frame the holes and frame the shots better. And what I'm trying to do is not make golf easier, but make it more appealing. And I know how intimidating this game is, just trying to hit a golf ball from A to B without having water and huge big deep bunkers to get in your way. So I'm trying to create an environment where you're framed and the target is quite clear and very well defined and looks quite generous. And that's what I'm trying to create in my golf course designs, and the same with my green designs. I'm trying to create a target that people feel comfortable hitting rather than intimidated.
What's your role going to be, Paul, in the future with your academy in Portugal and stuff? Is that something we discussed earlier with your, with the Sports Council maybe and Team Ireland aspect of the GUI? Is that something you see more long term? Yeah,
well, to be honest, going forward in my life, where I see myself is very hard, and I don't like to look too far ahead, but I'd love to see myself in 10 or 15 years' time with 6 or 7 or maybe even 10 different irons in the fire, not all just pigeonholing one. I can't see myself playing the Champions Tour or the Seniors Tour and just that's it. I'd like to have a lot of things going on, and maybe the Champions Tour being a part of that. And I really enjoy business, and I enjoy the golf course design. I enjoy the academy aspect. So there's I'd like to have a lot of irons in my fire. I think that keeps me interested. As the bit that I know about myself, I like to have a lot of different interests rather than just one thing and focusing on one thing, because I get bored and I get tuned out after a certain length of while. And it's important for me to keep my interest. So the more things I've got going on, the broader the spectrum, the bit that I know about myself, the more I'm going to be interested, and the better I'm going to perform at each one of them.
Paul, thanks very much for joining us at Wentworth today. It's always great to catch up with you, and best of luck for the future.
Thank you, and good luck with you. Nice to see you again.
Thanks, Paul.